Years of unrest, 4 years of civil war, and now a natural disaster of this scale. It really is a trifecta of despair, and today the official death toll climbed above 2,000.
Scramble to rescue survivors. Every minute counts, with hundreds still trapped under rubble all over central Myanmar.
And local hospitals are overwhelmed. Food and water is running out too.
At its core, Insight Myanmar is about connection. We strive to bridge divides and foster understanding by sharing the stories of those living through extraordinary times. Connection fuels empathy, and empathy inspires action. So whether it's through tales of spirituality, reflections on cultural heritage, or accounts of people's struggles against oppression and their aspirations for a better future, we aim to forge connections towards a shared humanity that transcends borders. Let's start to build on that connection with the interview that follows.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Our continuing coverage of what little information we can glean and what insights we can manage to muster about the ongoing crisis in Myanmar in the wake of not only the 7.7 earthquake, but also the 5.5 aftershock that was recently felt in Mandalay. I'm lucky enough to be joined once again by Jaw, who we've previously interviewed as a CDM defector from the military from the early days of the coup. And we're going to be looking at not only how does the military generally operate in times of crises and how do they exploit these crises, but also we're going to be looking at specifically what information has come out and what do we know is going on the ground with regards to the rescue efforts and with regards to relief efforts. So before we get into that, Joe, thank you very much for coming back and speaking with us once again on such short notice in this very difficult time. I want to give you the chance first to introduce yourself for the audience who are not familiar with you.
Thank you very much for allowing me to describe the situation going on in Myanmar in time of such crisis. Yeah, my name is Cho. I was a former military pediatrician, a former captain who was defected after the coup in 2021. Yes.
Okay. So let's just jump right into it then. So what do we actually know about the situation on the ground? Obviously, Mandalay is the epicenter. That's where the earthquake really hits. Naypyidaw is not very far from Mandalay, but we also know that there is destruction, extensive destruction in Sagaing, extensive destruction in Magwe. How bad is the destruction, and how far does the destruction reach?
Yes, as far as the destruction reach, this would be the worst earthquake in Myanmar so far. So, since the epicenter is just between the Mandalay region and Sakai region. Yeah, they have like extensive and so extreme destruction all over the city. Now it's like almost the whole city is annihilated or destroyed, and I think if I have to like count the destroyed area, it would be like Mandalay, Zagai, and Taunji, like major city, and then another cities like Ishameting, Pyeongtaek, and Metila, and like a few other cities are also involved, and there are so many other cities who are affected by the earthquake, but not as severe as the previous city that I mentioned before. The cities I mentioned are like almost totally devastated. There are a lot of casualty. According to the official report, like it is around death toll or 1,700 people, but I think it's barely scratched the iceberg since we have been like trying to have contact with the locals and interviewing the local about current conditions. So we have confirmed that, or at least like I think like around 5,000 deaths at least since most of the city that I try to have an interview and answer like they have at least 4,000 that stay and whom that they can recover the dead bodies. So yeah, they and that the most devastated city like Mandalay and Sakai, there would be like at least looking guessing at least around 10,000 dead body in each city. So yeah, I think it is really devastated. It's like the worst earthquake in our country history, maybe, because the last time we faced we encountered such devastating disaster is in 2008 Nagas. So
Mm.
yeah, it's totally yeah. I don't know where to speak. Yeah, it is really devastated.
So I want to go back. How many bodies did you just say 10,000 bodies? Yeah, I'm asking about the number of dead bodies you were talking about. Did you say
Yes,
10,000?
yes. The official report is like 1,700, but
Yes.
the uh, international, the experts are estimating that that will be around 10,000 bodies, and I think according to our like interview and look at witnesses, it could be a very very close number to the real death toll. And that is the MO of the government since the 2008 nuggets. They always report only what they can confirm, and then if they usually try to reduce the causality so that they can save faces.
Mm.
So yes, that tool you are asking would be correct. It would be the correct estimation.
Wow. I mean that is a very big difference in those numbers. So what what do we know is currently being done about this? Because in a situation like this, we need to rescue the people who are trapped underneath the buildings. We need to remove the dead bodies. We need to move injured people to hospitals, and we need to start giving people emergency food and emergency shelter. This would be the most important thing. What do we know is currently being given to the victims?
Yes, that's the usual procedure to respond earthquake. But the thing is that the government, like let's say the Hunter government, they have not been prepared for such disaster for many years since they just try to hold the power of the state. So this is the problem. Every country could face such disaster, but every country have plans and resources to respond those kind of like devastating disaster. But our country is not like others. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the technique. We don't have the preparation and equipment. So usually when such disaster occur in country, what we most rely on is the volunteer and the unity of the whole country. Like previously in 2019 and 2020 21 COVID, we usually had to rely on the most of the power come from the youth, young people, and volunteers, and then they were like well supported by the government, and like we used to overcome the disaster with the unity of the country. But now this time it is not happening since all the volunteer, all the technician, all the expert, like at least half of them are in the jungle, in the prison, in the other country. Yeah, that is one of the biggest problem to respond this earthquake. So it's been almost like 3 days since the first attack or earthquakes. We have not been able to rescue. Like suspicion, even the suspicion portion of the victims that are trapped in the building, and so and the thing is that the seeing the rescue team and process is really very sad. And sometimes, yes, I cannot say how to describe it. They don't have any equipment, they don't have any proper training, they don't have, if they don't even have manpower in some of the country, some of the city like Zagais and other small city, even in Mandalay, like the the primary force that are responsible to earthquake is not, it doesn't come from the government, it comes from the local charity groups and local volunteer, but they they can only use small amount of machinery and equipment, like sometimes crowbars and hammer, and so sometimes they have to try for like 1 or 2 days at least to even like rescue a person in a truck building. But the collapse building were already thousands in each city. So sometimes people trying to save the person trapped inside, but they since they don't have proper expert or trainings, sometimes they make it worse. Like when they try to like remove the bricks and other broken thing, it make the building more collapse, and sometimes they had to let go of the person. Sometimes they had to encounter that the voices they are hearing from inside the building are like slowly fading and disappear. That's the real situation here. Even if there is some government resource like government civil servants who are trying to have like the first responder, even they don't have the enough training, so they might use the improper techniques, or sometimes they might worsen the situation. Some of our people were being rescued, that's correct, but I don't think it is, it's barely touched the percentage that a country should be able to rescue. So only so I can say only the lucky people from the Britain are out, not because we have enough of techniques and trainings and things like that. So, and now when it came to the 30 of the earthquake, the rescuing the survivor is not the only problem. Now, since the yesterday, the other problem sadly is like the to removing the dead body, because it's began to stench, and it even affect the whole city. Like it could affect their mental health, it could affect their physical health, like it could produce like infection and stench, and there's another kind of pollution. And now the people like from Sagai is the most devastated city since they got they got hit most severely, and they got less like less help from the military government, since that region is like regarded as a conflict zone. So now they are asking that even if no one could save the survivor, at least some came, at least like people could came over there and like remove the dead body, because the whole city is now starting to stench from the dead bodies. Like survivor have nowhere to go but to live near the dead body, and then trapped victims inside the beaten who are still surviving. They have to like now they have to suffer not from the injury but from the stench of the dead body that is like closely lying beside them. So that is now the biggest issue. So even with the international health, we have like at least 3 or 5 things who who flown into our country from the another country like China, Taiwan. I had that Taiwan is still not allowed to have. I don't know why there is a delay. Like it could be like, I don't know, a political problem with the China and Myanmar and things like that. But as far as I know, since yesterday, Taiwan team is not able to help, and then there's like China team and India team and some things like that. But as soon as they arrived, most of them were brought to the headquarters Naypyidaw, like to help the civil servants and like military organization that are like that suffer from the earthquake. But only after they got enough people to have in their headquarters in Naypyidaw, some of the forces are sent to the Mandalay, like to clear to clear and rescue some of the victims. There's the ongoing rescue situation since in for example in Inlay region in Daoji region, at least we have confirmed that 950 houses are totally devastated. The other houses have damage. A lot of people are trapped in the houses, and then people have to like live on a boat and sleep on a boat there's a very big lake in a famous lake. Now they have to sleep over there, and then in Mandalay and in Sagai, like we can see that 80% of Sagai city has already been destroyed, and there are a lot of victims all over the city, but they are not getting any help. For example, sadly yesterday, like many other charity organization from the other city trying to enter the Sakai, but most of them were stopped and such, and like asked for permission by the military forces because they are not only helping the Sakai city, they are also like putting a lot of gags around the city so that no resistance force can enter. But or the resistance force, the side of the resistance force have already announced that they would stop any military advance during the disaster and they are willing to help. But still, the military is only getting the city and like restricting the in and out of the city without trying to instead of being trying to help them. So yeah, that's one of the problem now that even the volunteer were stopped and restricted from helping the city because of the security reason, and this is also ridiculous. Like they are like killing the victim slowly inside the building. That's the one problem again. And then again, after some of the volunteer force has permission to go into the Sakai city, they don't have enough equipment and technique and knowledge. So sometimes they just like about 15 or 20 people, like they came by themselves with the car. And when they reach the sites, they try to remove the bricks with their hands, and this wasn't going nowhere. Like they have good work, we our people, but they can really do much anything. So sometimes they just have to go back, or they just have to find some crowbars and some hammers that they can personally work on, like knock a thing or like knock a proper rescue thing. So people are doing just what they can. And I think it's that kind of factor would increase the death toll in these cities. So about the rescue program, it's not going well. So about the food and water, so the government is doing nothing about it. As far as I know, the emergency food and water came from the local donation and local charity, and it's barely enough. So that's another problem. Then when you talk about the medical response and medical response, I think a lot of the hospital have already have full burden. Most of the patient has to lie and wait just inside the compound of the military compound of the hospital. Sometimes just outside the compound of the hospital, it's like they are trying to just they are lying on the ground and waiting for the doctors, and the doctors are already being overwhelmed and they don't have like enough set up for to these such kind of conditions. So we have lost a portion of the survivor that we saved from the collapse site, but some of them dying in the hospital needlessly. Because of our resource, and in the first day we have even hear about some doctors like crying in the hospital, but because Lord, they even though they are doing everything, like they cannot save most of them because of these setup and the limited resources. So we are now having the insufficient rescue forces, insufficient manpower to even remove the dead body, and like totally insufficient resources to give the necessary medical treatment to the victims.
This is harrowing what you're saying here, and I want to examine these things one by one by one because there is so much happening.
Yes,
First with the corpses. So you are telling me that there is a fundamental inability to bury the bodies, and this is becoming a health danger that
yes.
that the bodies will decompose. So my question is, why is it not possible to do this? Are there too many bodies to bury, or is that there is nobody to bury the bodies? Is there some other difficulty? Is it a religious difficulty or cultural difficulty? Why is it so hard to remove and bury or cremate the bodies?
Yeah, the first thing is like we don't have like enough crane or backhoe or manpower to remove the body from inside the building. That's the one problem. We don't even have to consider about the religious other culture. We don't have just enough resource to even remove the dead body inside the building. So yeah, there are a lot of dead body trapping in the building. That's the first problem. The second one is that even if we have removed some of the dead bodies from the sites, but we don't even have the necessary, cremation spots and necessary morgue, like to some to bury the corpse in proper way. So that is also what happened in 2008 and then 2019 and 20 covid disaster. Like people, the corpse has to be lining up on outside of the morgue, like to be cremated. Like people, family have to wait for their time to get their family member or the victim to be cremated. So that is another problem. So what you say is true. We didn't even have the chance to consider about the religion and other culture. We just don't have enough resource. That's all.
And so even though in many of these cases we are talking about bodies that are trapped inside of buildings, and therefore I would assume these are not bodies that living people are very close to physically because they cannot get into the building. You're
Yes.
saying even so, this is still a serious health risk.
Yes, this is a serious, really a serious health risk since since in the ancient time and war time, sometimes the city is surrounded by the enemy, and like when they cannot bury the corpse of the fallen soldier, is just gradually began the health hazard for the living people over there. So, it's what happened in there. Since even not we are not considering other health hazards from the bodies. We even with the stench of the body could kill a person that are trapped inside the building. So yeah, for let's say we have like 20 people trapped inside a building and two of them are dying, like since the first earthquake. Now the stench could really like disturb the other people with their blood breathe and their oxygenation and like their mental health, and like they could be suffocated with the stench and things like that, and they could be like totally mentally breakdown, and it could really harm their health if people that are trapped inside. And even like sometimes people have nowhere to go but so that they have to live just near the compound on the ground where some of the victims were already dying inside the building, and they are having the stench, and sometimes it could affect their water and food system as soon as there will be wrecks and other people with the cost and everything. So one city is like enclosed and there are over 100 or 200 dead body are trapped begin to decompose. That is seriously a big health asset for the survivors also. And for Isabel, for the Zagai region, like the local say at least 400 to 1,000 corpses are stay, trapped inside, and now it began to stench, and they have their food and water are become very thin, and so they are crying for help, and people are really trying to help, but the military has already like stay restricting all the internet connection like before, internet connection like restricting the Facebook and other social media, and they are just getting and closing the city, um, for people to go in out. It's not an easy way. And then yesterday they officially stopped the foreign press to came into the country to to get a hold of this situation. That's one of the problem to the spokesperson from the gender, like he said more ridiculous thing we have ever have yesterday, that they cannot allow the foreign press because there is no good commodity. He said to the foreign press that they can provide like good room and like electricity and water and things like that, and so they cannot allow the foreign press and things like that. So he just most ridiculous things I ever said had from a government spokesperson yesterday. So that is one of the problem too. So what you are asking is correct. Like it would be a great hazard from the bodies now.
Hmm. And so let's look at that, the military then, because in a normal country we would expect that the military is the ones who are able to respond. They have helicopters, they have heavy machinery, they have trucks, and they have, supplies of food and medicine, and the military can establish emergency camps where people can live, where people can receive medical treatment. Militaries are capable of this. Is the Myanmar military, the Tamado, actually engaging with this crisis? Are they helping with rescue efforts, relief efforts, reconstruction efforts, relocation efforts?
So I don't think they are helping with the reconstruction and relocation, but they are trying to help with the rescue effort. But the thing is that to be able to help in this kind of situation, like they have to use all hands on the deck. But the thing is not they are not calling back any forces that were already deployed in the conflicted area, and they are keeping those forces to to be in the condition of battle ready, and so they are just using their spare forces that the forces that only they can spare after deploying all the forces around the country. So that's the problem. They are helping, but they are helping like I think I don't know, like 10 or 20% of the forces that from that really should help the people. So I think they are trying to help, but it is not being effective because the forces that they send out to help the people have no training and has no proper equipment, and they have no enough knowledge to respond in such kind of like such kind of disaster. That's the problem. So they are trying to help I said, but they don't have anything, and they are not using everything. Even the resistance forces and other ethnic groups promised that they will not attack the city in this kind of devastating time, and they are even offering to have in the military control region just to only reduce the people if the military allowed it. But military don't respond to any kind of request that from the resistance forces that are offering help, and then they don't even use the forces that are deployed in the conflicted area. So they are now just using the spare forces. It's really not affected. I would say it is just for show.
And so I think this is an important point as well. The We have heard from EAOs and PDF that they are offering a ceasefire, that they are temporarily stopping the conflict.
Yeah.
So I want to clarify, like, why has this decision been made? So these organizations have agreed or have offered a ceasefire to the military in order to allow humanitarian aid and rescue efforts and relocation and reconstruction efforts, if I'm understanding correctly what you've said. And also, the military, the Tamado, have not accepted this offer. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct. Every one of the resistance forces is offering. Now they are helping in their control region, but they also they don't have enough resources. So they want to invite the other 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 charity forces and other international rescue team into their region, but the military is cutting off every one of them. And then again, they even trying to offer the half into the military control zone, like without any medical, without any military advance. But the military is also not responding to those kind of offers.
Mm, typical for for the military,
Yeah,
unfortunately. And so to make this even worse, not only are we saying that the military is not offering the assistance and the military has not accepted the offer of a ceasefire, but I am to understand that the military is actually working to make relief efforts more difficult. So let's look at the different stages of that. Number one, I understand that there is a curfew still in effect, and that is making rescue efforts difficult. Is that true?
yeah, yes, this is true. Yeah, this is also the one of the more ridiculous thing I've seen the military have done. Yeah, they are still putting the curfew order, so now the civilian and the other charity group who are rescuing the civilian have to go home after the night. Like in some places, it will be like 12 a.m. or sometimes 10 p.m. The curfew hour. Like they have to move. They have to return to their home. And then again, in the first day of earthquake, a lot of the charity and volunteer from other city affected by earthquake, they try to came inside the affected city as soon as possible, but they are stopped at the outside of the city because it is in the early morning and it is in the middle of the night during the curfew hour, so they are not being let inside the country as soon as it happens. Sometimes the volunteer have to wait outside the country until the curfew is lifted. So that is one of the most ridiculous things. And then our country is restricted from the Facebook and other uh, in some particular area. The internet and mobile connection are being cut off because of the conflict. And I think everyone think it is time that this restriction should be lifted by the military, at least for the time being, before the war be, begin broken out again. But the military doesn't care. So now we are operating with the restriction of the social media. Like we have to use VPNs to even access the Facebook since they have restricted it, and then we have to use. We have to operate within the mobile and internet connection restriction and other restriction as well. So what you are seeing is true. They stay applying the curfew in these devastating times. And the worst thing is that yesterday, amongst the distraction, like 12 young people from Manly were taken into the military with the conscription law. So it means that they didn't stop at the to recruit to get the new recruits from the civilians. So and then again, and I have not confirmed the source, but I have seen a person from the volunteer team talk about some of the military posts and checkpoint trying to recruit and trying to forcefully constrict some of the volunteer people when they encounter with the checkpoints and things like that. So now the volunteer are not even had to have the fittings. They had to avoid the curfew and they had to avoid the forced conscription, the forced recruiting from the military. Since yesterday was the most devastated day for the earthquake victim. Still, 12 young people from the Mandalay were conscripted into the military.
I mean, this is ridiculous. And so in addition to this, you're saying also there's the information restriction. You're saying that people have to operate within the telecommunications restrictions. They have to use VPNs. Facebook is being blocked. A lot
Yeah.
of the country does not have internet, does not have electricity, and
Yes.
you're saying the foreign journalists cannot come in.
Yes.
Um, so the question here is why? Why does the military not want this information to be released?
Yes, this is their MO since 2008 Nugget and COVID because uh, but the military wouldn't want anywhere near their atrocity and those kind of such mismanagement. They don't want to be seen by the foreign press, so this is their usual MOs because we have already seen in 2008 Nuggets that they have blocked all the foreign press and they and then they are like propagating the whole country that they got the situation under control. They are the savior of the country, and now even in this digital era where they cannot control the flow of the real, real information, they are trying as much as possible to control the real narrative. And now they will be trying to use this close situation to their own benefits, like in 2008, where when the whole country is devastated back then, and they just trying to enforce the 2008 constitution law according to their favor. Now I think they were now in this earthquake disaster. I think they were trying to get something out of it instead of like really helping these people. Like I think they were trying to get some advantage in the military tactic and political, political strategy.
Mm. And so we've heard these rumors as well because you've said that people were being turned back, the volunteers were not able to go to the most affected areas, but we have also heard that there was a redirection of I think it was international volunteers who went to help Sagaing, if I recall correctly, and they were removed by the military to Naypyidaw,
Yes.
which is the only area that the military actually wants to protect and save. Is
Yes.
this true?
Yes, and most of the international help were brought to Naypyidaw first, and then they have some of the troop, like some of the Chinese and Indian, to the Mandalay, because the Mandalay has it is early, but they had like better information and better communication. So I think like they are just sending the troop where they can save physics and where it can be benefited for them. So that's why they are not like they are still not allowing people to enter the Sakai region where the most affected and devastated destruction occurs, because they usually don't want outside people to see how they are being useless in that kind of situation, and how their mismanagement have caused the people to suffer. So I think that's their usual thing since the 2008 Nakis and that kind of thing. Yes, I think so.
Okay, so it's that's interesting. So it's not so much about protecting Naypyidaw as a city and making sure that people are not suffering there. Do we know, by the way, if there's any extensive damage in Naypyidaw?
Yes, Nibiru has also extensive injury too. That I think they have at least, I don't know, according to the confirmed information, at least 300 people are dead from the earthquake destruction, and thousands of people are also injured in the Nibiru. Like most of them are civil servants and the family of the military members. So yes, they also suffer from the extensive I don't know extended destruction. But the thing is that they have already, not only they have like do proper cleaning to the important houses like the neighborhood where the former military leader live and other general live. They have already used the military engineer to reconstruct the building. So yeah, I think they I don't think they are in for that stuff in Napier also. Yes.
Okay, so it's not that there's a need, as far as the military sees, for additional aid in Naypyidaw. They already have the aid in Naypyidaw that they need. They just want to stop the international aid community from seeing the level of the damage and from being able to help the people in areas that are not under military control. Is
Yeah.
that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one of I think this is one of the reason. But another reason would be like they don't have the capability to even protect their closest target. That is why they are like asking the help, using the help of the international expert and equipment in their headquarters, so that their people could escape fast. Their people could be hurt fast. I think that is also one of the reasons too.
Mm, interesting, interesting stuff. So, okay, so things are obviously not going well, and one of the phenomenally important points to clarify is the conflict itself, the ongoing conflict. We understand, and I want to make sure that the information is correct. But we understand that the military is continuing to carry out airstrikes and carry out bombardments in areas in Mandalay division, that have been affected by the earthquake. The military is continuing its war efforts. Is that also happening?
Yes, according to my knowledge and the media confirmation, yesterday at least three time, at least in the North region and some other region where they was continuously bombing before the earthquake. Yesterday, I think at least three times they committed like bombing in those areas where people are suffering from the from the earthquake. And there is one such truth in among this disaster. So we have a lot of causality in some conflicted zone when the earthquake came because people are like hiding inside their building instead of coming out because as soon as the people hear the loud noise and the ground shaking, usually in other country people would think that it would be an earthquake and they will run out of the building. But in some region, but they just the first thing they think when the ground is shaking and loud noise is that the military is bombing them. So most of them trying to go inside the building, and some of them trying to go inside the shelters. And then when the when the buildings are collapsed because of the earthquake, so some a portion of the people were trapped and died inside the building because they thought it was bombing from the military. Yeah, that is the sad truth in some region. Yeah, that kind of thing happens. So yeah, I think these kind of military like bombings and the war situation really affected the victim too.
I mean, this is. I mean, it's difficult to comprehend this. It seems beyond heartless and cruel. What what is the strategy? What is the reason for this?
Yes, I cannot even understand because I think they are very desperate because they are on the brink of losing the territory now they are controlling. So they thought that if the PDF and other EAO advance during this time, like they could not protect their regions anymore. So that is why they are trying to you know do the bombing as a precaution and things like that. But I mean, the PDF and other troops are not that like thoughtless and heartless killing machine. They have already ceased fire and they are helping in their own region, so no one is attacking them. But still, they are thinking that these people were to create things like them, and they are afraid of they will lose. So I think they are trying to attack fast.
Hmm. I mean, this is sheer insanity, but it is the military.
Yes.
What do we expect? So the fundamental question is right now on the ground, how much aid is actually happening? How much is actually getting through in terms of local groups, whether these are PDF, EAO, Tamado, or just non-political charity groups and civil society groups, and how much international aid and support is actually making it to the people who are most affected, whether this is in Sagaing, whether this is in Mandalay, how much aid is there happening?
Yes, I think the Indonesian forces like at least 100 of the people, and they are trying to help the people. And we have seen some good news yesterday that some of the people were rescued by these volunteer and international organizations. But the thing is that sometimes we have to use a lot of effort to like uncover the breach of a building, and sometimes we only got one survivor in one day in some building. In some building, if we are lucky, there are at least like 40 people trapped inside the building with just one wall between us. Sometimes so when we like break the wall and when we make an entrance, we could save like 40 people or sometimes 30 or 50 people. But it is a rare occasion. But so sometimes it also depends on the luck and situation. Sometimes the easiest building to make way of the victim has very few people, and now we can save only a few people, and sometimes we can save a large group of people. And the one of unfortunate thing about the victim is that the earthquake was happened in the Friday. So so we have a lot of mosques and we have our like Muslim people, like they are praying inside their mosques. But when the earthquake happening, so a lot of people were trapped inside those mosques, and so I think they, the crowd has more got more damage because of the earthquakes for the religious collection, religious meetings, and then we have like schools and banks and things like that where people are most crowded in that time. In that time of the earthquake, so we got most victim in the like schools and boarding schools and banks and things like that. So now the all the people are trying to help, but because of the limited resources, we have been able to have to the certain amount of people, lucky people. And sometimes it really depends on the situation of the building and the availability of the resource. So it's hard to say.
So, so I mean, this is obviously a very difficult topic and a very painful one. But you're you're saying the death toll is rising. You know, when the first reports were coming out, we heard numbers, you know, in like 500. I think it was probably on Saturday that I heard the number had been adjusted to about 1,000. You're now saying that the official number is 1,700, and that in reality the death toll is 10,000. And we often think that in disasters like this, the reason that the death toll keeps going up is just because we are discovering new victims. We are finding new people or identifying new people who had died in the initial disaster. But the truth is, this number will increase because there are people who are alive now when we are recording this interview on the Monday, and these people are going to die because they could not be rescued in time, or because they could be rescued but they could not be given medical care in time, or because they cannot get clean water and things like this. What do you think the next few weeks are going to be like in in these regions, in Sagaing, Magwe, Mandalay, possibly, you know, northern Bagur? What do you think, that the death toll is going to continue climbing quickly, or do you think that we are soon going to reach the maximum point and things will stabilize?
Yes, it's really a difficult question, and even the expert won't be able to answer it like precisely because of the money situation and further depending on the rescue mission. Because we are hoping that more international community will come to help, and I was hoping the military would finally, have some thoughts inside their heart, and like they might have lifted some restrictions. So we have to hope for many factors like international help and the military cooperation, and then our like people united effort to save the people. So so I'm not sure how they would turn out in a week, because it could, like, the rescue effort could be like increased, or like, I don't know, it could be decreased, like depending on the manufacturer. So I'm just I can just only hope for the best, that we can increase the effort, and like we now people have been like getting some experience and getting a hand on how to rescue the people in like 2 or 3 days. So I think the effort would increase and we could save as much as people possible. But the thing is that it is like a golden hour, like in our medical emergency, because as soon as the victims are trapped inside, they have a very limited time to continue surviving under the under the building. There's for the lack of food and oxygen and things like that. So every hour is 5 8 hours for them, and we are losing people like minutes by minute. So as long as this kind of delayed and this kind of delay and restriction are imposed by the military, we are now losing people hour after hour. So we have like sadly heart of people, like in the first year of the earthquake, they are shouting and calling for help inside the building, and now the voice is the voice are beginning to be like faint and quiet, and sometimes we got some connection with the fitting inside the building, and then like, we lost the connection, and sometimes the people inside the building, their voices began like fainted, and now in some the building like we stop hearing voices after 3 days of not being able to have take all the victims. So yeah, I think that toll will increase because of the trapping situation, and we being unable to take out the victims. So most of the victims would likely to be dying slowly of any other factor, a lot of factors. So yeah, that toll will increase, but it's still hard to say how much the death toll will increase depending on the situation of the Indonesian half, like the half from the people from our people from the other other country. Now they are like trying to collect the funds, and they are trying to support everything they can to send money and support inside the country. Now the international media and podcast channel like you are trying to help out and spread the news. So I can only hope for the best, but I cannot say for sure.
And so the again, all of these questions are very important questions, but th- this is something that we have to reckon with: is the military. Can Do you think that relief efforts can happen despite the military? It's clear that the military doesn't want to help. It's clear that the military wants to make everything worse. But is it possible for aid to happen if we just decide we are going to help these regions and we don't care about the military? Or is the military willing to start arresting and shooting rescue workers?
Yes, I think it is hard to say with military because no, they are them. They don't have any principle or any consideration of the people like long before. So it's really hard to say. So I'm just really hoping that the volunteer could work out with the local, I don't know, local soldier and those kind of situation. And then I was hoping that more international help would came inside the country, since the military they don't have the authority to refuse the help from the other country. They had to let them in no matter what, and they had to let them help other people no matter what. I think that could be an important factor from the international community and international help, which the military is very afraid of, to let the other country know that they are abusing the civilians. So I think that the more international media coverage and the more international help would relieve the victims from those disasters, and then it will also relieve they are shooting and arresting and forced conscription, as long as they are people like foreign people working alongside the volunteer. I think they are giving the local volunteer to some kind of cover. I think that is one of the reasons the military won't let the press came inside the country. Yes, I want to say to our audience that we are in the desperate need of help from anyone, from anywhere, all around the world. So yes, I just want to say, please help us in to overcome this disaster and to reduce the victims. And then, as all the community is doing now is like we will have like some kind of like large donation from the government to government, like millions of dollars are coming inside the country. So as like other people are saying, that please be careful with where your donation goes. Like we really like hoping for the donation and international help, but we want to be really apathetic so that the donation will go where it's really needed instead of going inside the pocket of military, which will surely be abused. The whole country know that the military was abused a portion, at least a portion of the help into like into their own benefit. So please be careful. Please, be careful where you would send the help and where you would donate the money. But stay, please, trying to help with the financial and other resource to our people, and that's what I want to say.
I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Given the importance of the topics we cover, it's my firm commitment and guarantee that our podcast feed will never sit behind any paywall, and that all of our episodes will be freely available for all to access. However, just because the episodes are free does not mean that there's no cost associated with producing them. Truth be told, it can sometimes be a bit of a challenge to keep afloat from month to month, and sometimes our limited resources prevent us from taking on the type of content we'd like to pursue. So, if you found today's episode of value and would like to help us to continue to produce more episodes like this one, we would greatly appreciate a contribution. You can offer up a small recurring donation through Patreon or PayPal, or explore other donation options by going to insightmyanmar.org/donation. We also invite you to consider stepping up your level of support by becoming a member. You can learn more by going to insightmyanmar.org/membership. However you contribute, thank you so much for your contribution.
Bayaran angka yaunya nada do ya dalam dia digane zat mana we kada besaya na besaya oh bayaran anda ada yang nangan ayaran ada yang nampak dah yaran